This is Gary by the chalkboard. My guest today is Kara O. Kara lives in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. She is a relationship expert, a workshop facilitator, really focusing on relationships and how to be happy. She has authored several books. She's been a guest on the major news networks in the United States as a national relationship expert. Kara, welcome.
Thank you. Nice introduction.
It's so good to have you on here, and I just love your work.
Oh,
I love
good.
your website. I love the videos you make, and I'm so excited to talk about that today and hear you talk about it.
Cool.
Yeah. So this town you live in Mexico is it's a beautiful place. I looked it up online. It has a
Yeah.
wonderful, rich history. It's got some fantastic architecture. How did you end up there?
Well, I knew I wanted to move to a Spanish-speaking country. My family's in California, so Spain was out. And I tried Costa Rica, but the people were lovely, but there was nothing else that drew me in. So my son-in-law, before he met my daughter, had lived here for 9 months. So when I said, I don't know where to go, they said, go to San Miguel de Allende. And so I gave it a year and put everything in storage. And after 3 months, I knew that I had found my home for the first time in my life, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a magical city. It truly is.
It looks like it. So
Yeah.
that's really amazing. Huh. So you're a very happy person, focusing on happiness, making people happy, being happy. Uh, but you didn't grow up happy as a child.
No, I was terribly insecure, painfully so, actually. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that a little family crisis caused us to go into group therapy. And none of us had ever done anything like that and swore we never would, but it was such an amazing experience to be with all these families that were from every walk of life. And we all had kids that were in some trouble. And my husband, the father of my children, my ex-husband, he said, we will always have money available for books, therapy, workshops, whatever it is that you want to do to keep growing inside. And the whole family still is on that path. My daughter, 52, is a hypnotherapist. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's an important part of taking charge. You know, you said I make people happy. I don't. I offer advice on how people make themselves happy. Big
Mhm.
difference. Big difference. We're in charge of our happiness. It's nothing external. It's
Yeah.
all internal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Agreed. You can offer people the tools. They have to
that's
pick them
right.
up and use them themselves.
Right, right. And the first thing that people have to understand is that it really is that they are in charge of how they experience the world. And a lot of people don't realize that. They blame it, you know, what's going on, all these external circumstances, people in their lives, how they grew up. But once we realize, oh, I can actually change how I respond to all of this stuff that goes on in the world. And sometimes there's some pretty deep wounding. And so I offer workshops that heal that. Because if you don't really address some of that real early stuff, it's very difficult to rise above it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said on your website is, quote, the primary thing that interferes with you enjoying the love and happiness you deserve is you not living life as you.
Yes.
And so that's exactly what you were just talking about, that you have to live this life as you and experience these things as you in order to live a fuller life.
Yeah, there's a common question, or I don't know if it's a question, but I guess it is, who am I? And that people search for that. And it's really a matter of clearing away all the stuff that you're not, which is mostly what our families and our schools, our coaches, our teachers, the people that we've been close to put on us. And we think that's who we are. But what we have to clear that away and just take charge of. It's more a matter of how do I want to be in the world? And then we work toward that. And that goal can change. For me, I just wanted to, I was tired of being insecure. So I did some things that started changing that right away. One of them was going to a Christmas party. I'd gone every year, and everybody knew each other well, and they always hugged each other. And because I was still in the midst of being insecure, this is like early 30s, there were two women that they just are super confident women. And I wanted some of what they have. And so I did a little meditation before I went to the party, and I imagined them standing there on either side of me. And I just said, I want some of what this one woman had and some of what this other woman had, and melded it into me. And I went to this party, and rather than just going up and hugging people, because that was still foreign to me, I just said, I'm learning how to hug. Can I hug you? And they're like, of course. And by the end of that party, I had gotten over a lot of that insecurity about, approaching people. It was really powerful. Never forget it.
Yeah, it's taking a risk and being vulnerable.
Yeah. And that was easier for me to say. I didn't say I'm scared, but basically they knew. It's like, is it okay if I give you a hug? Rather than just pretending and hugging them, that would have been more uncomfortable, and I don't think it would have been as effective. Because like you say, I just made myself super vulnerable, and everyone's like, yes, of course. And they all gave me these nice, warm, fuzzy hugs. So by the end of the party, it was like, okay, cool. I'm a hugger now.
Yeah. And then you take that experience and it just expands the next one, doesn't it?
Yes. Then the next step was when I was walking around on the sidewalks to say hello to people, just strangers. That was a big stretch for me, but it became easier and easier. And now living in Mexico, it's like buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos dias, as I see people, walking along the street with me, and they always say back to me, buenos dias. It's really nice.
Yeah. When you're friendly, you get known as being friendly. And when people see you again the next time, that's how they begin to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
nice.
Yeah. So you have authored several books. I would like you to talk about two of them in particular.
Okay.
One of them has a rather suspicious title, Men Made Easy. Are we easy?
Well, yeah. Actually, that title and the double entendre, I mean, when I first started doing radio and TV to market the book, people said, oh, you can't call the radio stations yourself. You have to hire someone to do it. No, that book title got me in immediately. So I never had trouble booking radio and TV. But the easy part is that these secrets that I share in the book, and they're actually more toward men that are probably now, that was 99 when I published, men that are 45 and older, because the younger men are different. They grew up playing soccer with the girls. So very different, they're different. And so the younger women, it's not really for them so much. But basically the secrets that I teach in the book, if you really understand what makes a man tick, then you can get him to be more of what you want him to be. And underneath it all, as you mentioned earlier, I'm about teaching people how to be happy. The men part was to get their attention, the women. But it's really taking charge of yourself. And, one of the secrets is the happier you are, the more beautiful you are.
Hmm.
which makes you more attractive to men.
I can definitely see that. That is
Yeah,
true.
because so many women put so much onto the man that you have to do this and this and this to make me happy. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah. If a woman is happy, it just draws men to her, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. And if they're in a relationship, if they start showing up, maybe if they've purchased my book and they start applying the secrets, then they start changing, and then the men start responding, or
Mm.
the man starts responding. So, and women, I got, when the book was first out and I was very involved in interacting with my readers, I got women telling me all the time how their relationships were transforming. And sadly, I got letters from men who had read the book and said that if they'd had that book in their marriage, they might not have gotten divorced.
Mm.
Which always just, it's like, oh, touched my heart. Even
Yeah.
now, I kind of feel tears, it's been a long time, but yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to look back, especially on my life now, at things I know now. Boy, if I had known that then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's called wisdom.
Yes. And I appreciate every bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, another book you wrote, and this is the one that really interested me, is called Male Midlife Crisis,
Mm-hmm.
because part of my focus is on helping men go through, or helping men who are going through a midlife crisis, because I went through that. And it
Mm.
was really troubling. I had lots of experiences of anxiety attacks, depression, and coming out of that has enabled me to help them. And I was searching for a woman's perspective on this because I found a lot of men talking about it, but I found you, and you had written a book about this. How did this book, Male Midlife Crisis, come about?
Um, well, having gone through, well, my marriage of 29 years, he would never admit it, that he was going through midlife crisis, but I'm pretty certain that's what was going on. And I heard this term, and I searched for something that would, maybe verify what I was thinking was going on. There was nothing at the time, nothing. And there weren't any men talking about it either, because we didn't have YouTube and the internet like we do today. So I just was struggling, and having written the book Men Made Easy, and having talked to a lot of men over the years, I decided, okay, let's continue to talk to men. And so, I have a secret about how to get men to open up that I reveal in Men Made Easy. And so I had confidence that I would be able to talk about this with men and that they would not be uncomfortable, which generally male midlife crisis is an uncomfortable topic for men because they don't want to admit it. And I think the reason they don't want to admit it, one reason, is because most of the time when it's brought up in public conversation, it's a joke.
Hmm.
And, the guy that dumps his wife and goes with a young bimbo, or gets a Porsche or the motorcycle, or, all the things that we talk about. Must be going through midlife crisis, and they make it a joke. What man would want to admit that when it's always a joke? It's not a joke. It's
No,
very serious.
yeah, it's not a joke at all. And it's tough. You have no idea what's actually happening. I know when I went through mine, one of the things that I did is I became very isolated. I went through periods of time where I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was definitely not healthy for my marriage, but I was lost and I didn't have any answers at that time of where to turn to.
Yeah. Isolation's a big part of it. Big part. Partly because you don't know what's going on and there's really no one to talk to. Um, And you're supposed to be the big, strong man who's never, vulnerable. So it's hard to talk to your wife. And a wife is more inclined to maybe go into some finger pointing and blaming. And so that's too risky too. It might not, but it could. And so, yeah, isolation is a safer way to be during that time.
So if a man is going through a midlife crisis, what would you tell, or what could you offer to his wife during that time that would help her?
Well, that's what the book is all about. It's aimed at the woman to understand what's going on. First, she needs to understand what triggers it, what's going on, and to know that there are a lot of ways, depending on his self-awareness, that he will act out or not. Some are very drastic ways that they act out, some kind of mild. But as long as she understands, oh, that's what's going on, don't blame herself, don't blame him, and basically take care of herself. Stay away. Don't ever blame him or say that he's going through midlife crisis. Don't do that, because that just puts up the walls and the barriers. And take care of herself in every way that she can. Sometimes a woman needs to take care of herself financially, because a lot of men kind of blow the finances when they're going through this. And that can be risky, especially if she's got children that need to be taken care of. So there's a lot of things, but mostly stand back, let him do what he's doing. You might get him back. And if he comes back, then you decide, okay, we're not going to try to fix the marriage. We're going to start and create a new marriage, because he's different. If he comes back, he's gone through a lot, probably a lot of soul searching, and he knows himself better. And she's gone through a lot, having watched it. And so what I recommend is that the couple start as if they were just married, but they're wives now. Like, who's going to do what around here? Who's responsible for what? How are we going to do this different than we've ever done it before? And what do we really want out of this marriage? People that get married in the beginning, they don't usually have those conversations. They're just all excited and they're in love, and their hormones are probably still going to town, and they don't have those intelligent step-by-step conversations about how they really want their life together to be. But after the crisis, and he does come back, that's a perfect time to just okay, clean slate. Let's build a marriage that we think will be so much better than it ever was.
Yeah, man, that is so rich. That is very valuable. You were talking about trying to change things. One of the videos I saw that you did, you talked about how a lot of times women think their husband is not interested in fixing the marriage. And you said that's because they can't. They can't fix it.
They really, from what I've been able to gather in talking with a lot of people, teaching workshops, and just paying attention, men kind of acquiesce once they've done their job of winning her over. They acquiesce the relationship into her lap, and she's in charge then. And if it's kind of good enough for a lot of men, it's good enough. Whereas women generally have more expectations. And whining and complaining is not going to get anything to happen in a good way. So if she understands, okay, I want him to be more the way he was maybe in the beginning, which a lot of men, they start out really romantic, and they're winning her over. But once they won her over, it's like, phew, okay, now I can relax. And the women's like, what happened? Where'd it go? And so that's why, the secrets in Men Made Easy allow a woman to start doing subtle things to start getting him to come closer and be more the way he was.
Okay.
Not necessarily romantic all over the map like in the beginning. That's pushing your luck, I think.
I know when men try to fix things, they want to get, oh, I need a 3/8 inch wrench and this size bolt, and we put it together, there it is. But that doesn't work in a relationship.
No. And I mean, and that is one of the communication differences. Women, a lot of times, the reason they want to talk to someone, whether it's a girlfriend or their partner, is they want to connect. It's not so much the content of what they say, it's that they connected. A couple of women may decide to go for a walk in the park, and they may want to talk about a certain topic, but because women tend to be all over the map, when we talk, which drives men crazy generally, they might not get to what they planned on talking about, but that's okay because they connected. I call it meandering for women. Whereas men, it's like, no, we're going from A to B, period. We're going to get there as quick as we can. And if there's a problem that she wants to talk about, he wants to solve it. She just wants to talk about it. She wants to connect. She wants to have him go, oh, honey. And that's a big problem between a lot of couples, is they don't understand that their communication style is so very different. And then the expectations get in the way, and there you have it, a big mess.
Yeah, I can relate to that directly. That communication it's a lifelong skill that you learn all the time.
Yes, and the key to great communication is the ability to listen. And women tend to not be great listeners when they're talking to their guy. And that's one of the things I teach is zip it. If he's, ask a question that's not too scary, and then let him talk. And don't say anything about it, especially if he opens up and says something that's pretty vulnerable that maybe she didn't know before. Don't dissect it. Don't just let it be there like a little baby bird in a nest. Just, oh my goodness, it's precious. And don't ever, ever, ever reveal anything private and personal that a man says to the girlfriends, ever.
Yeah.
Women tend to do that.
Yes.
And that's wrong, very wrong.
Yeah, that can undermine trust really, really quickly when you share something vulnerable that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's very tempting. But if he finds out that she said something to someone else, that's it. He's not going to open up again.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
It was a few years ago, I read this survey given to married couples, men and women, about what was the most important thing in their relationship, to men, to women. To men, number one was honor. And number two, of course, was sex.
Mm-hmm.
But honor being that first one, when I first heard that, I went, that's right. I'd never considered it that way, but that's the most important thing to a man in that relationship, is that his wife honors him.
Yes. And respect is part of that.
Yeah. When they polled the women on this, they put sex down at number 17.
Really?
It was number 17. Gardening was higher than that.
Okay, there's a big problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we were laughing when we were looking at that, going, wow, that's why there's such a discrepancy here, because men put it up near the top and women, it's down on the list somewhere.
That's interesting. Well, one of the things that I teach in Men Made Easy, and having read Male Midlife Crisis today, because it's been a while, is that I teach women that the only way that men are comfortable being intimate, which is women are always saying, I want more intimacy. Well, she means talking and cuddling and, you know, all that heart-to-heart, emotional, soul-to-soul connection. For most men, the way they only think of intimacy is sex. And so I try to explain to women, if you want more intimacy, you're going to have to be okay with more sex. And I mean, if you quit sex, I mean, if I can't believe it's number 17 on the list, you're going to end up pushing him away. And that's what happens. A lot of couples, they end up pretty much being kind of a brother-sister relationship. That's not, and then they wonder why things don't work.
Yeah. It may not have been number 17, but it was in the teens.
Well, even if it's lower than gardening.
It was. I distinctly remember that.
That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, see, one of the things that, I don't know if I wrote it in Men Made Easy, I think I did, is that I think a couple needs to connect sexually every day. And that doesn't mean having sex, but, you know, instead of a peck on the lips when you part in the morning, a full-on kiss, a passionate kiss. And at night, a passionate kiss. Skin on skin, which can frequently lead to sex. Just make a point that we need to connect physically to keep that, what a lot of times, what sparked the relationship in the very first times that they were together. I mean, that's what everyone says, oh, it's just the hormones. Well, yeah, but that's what made you guys think that you wanted to get married or to be a long-term couple. And then you let that go? That makes no sense to me. None. Because it's such an important part in the beginning, which draws you together, and then you let it go by the wayside. Yeah, not good.
So on your website today, the video that you have on there is called Secrets About Men. All Men Are Irritating. Is that true?
I don't know. Where was that? On my YouTube channel?
No, it's on it's the video on your homepage of your website. I don't know if it cycles them or what, but that's the one that came up today when I was looking.
On CaraO.com?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know there was a video there. There's, I thought it was, well, I'm sure there was trying to get the attention of the viewer, the visitor. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
I didn't disagree. I went, yeah, that's pretty much the case. We can be very irritating really quickly. So
can women.
Yeah.
But my audience is women, so what can I say? I'd have to look at that to know what I was trying to say. It's been quite a while. I haven't paid much attention to CaraO.com. It's kind of static at this point, but I get tons of visitors, so I let it be there. I focus more on a couple of other websites that I've built. And then being here in Mexico, I have built a bunch of websites for friends here for free as gifts. And, you know, it's a nice way. I know how to do that, and I can offer it as a gift. So CaraO.com it's been kind of on the back burner for a while. So I have Everevolving, which is nothing to do with relationships. And I don't know if you ever even saw that one. And then the more recent is happyhabithacks.com. And that's just, you know, straightforward tips on how to be happy, how to make yourself happy. And it's actually, I've chosen not to make it just for women, which is kind of my general mode, to keep it more gender neutral.
Yeah, I took a look at both of those websites, and the everevolving.com has to
Very different.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So what's your focus on that website?
Well, you know, it's funny. It was my first 6 months or so here in San Miguel, and in the middle of the night, I woke up, it was like 2 a.m, and there was the website what it ought to be and the focus of it. And I'm going, no, 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 this is not me. But I was super, super interested in the environment and what we're doing and what we can do. And so I set to work on putting that workshop together. And not to get into politics, but then we ended up with the president we have now. And it was like a deer in the headlights. And I kind of, I was blogging every day, and I was really inspired because part of it was aiming at young people and sharing what they're doing all around the world in inventions and solving problems. That young man from, I think, Denmark, who came up with a way to get the plastic out of the ocean. I mean, it's like, wow, it's young people. This is their future. And so I was really inspired. And then it's kind of like, ah. So we'll see if I get back to the daily blogging on that one. But yeah, I do. I have a page on Facebook. So when I come across something on Facebook that's inspiring for the environment in particular, but a lot of things, the good things that people are doing, I'll put that on the page, and then that automatically goes on to Everevolving. So it at least gets that as a refresher. So, but yeah, I've kind of ignored it a little bit for the last 4 years.
It seems to me, in my experience, that when I learned to take care of me, of this life, and things started improving, my awareness of the planet and the earth increased, taking care of these things outside of me.
I like that. And it's true. I think when we start taking care of ourselves, our compassion grows in general, because we're having more compassion for ourselves. We're giving ourselves a break, not blaming ourselves for everything that we do wrong. And then that compassion spills out to humanity, and then, of course, to our planet, which is filled with all kinds of living creatures.
Yeah, I find myself even looking at insects who get
Uh-huh.
into my house differently. I
Yes,
just I let them go because they're a life. They don't know anything about me. They're just meandering along, and I'll
right.
most of the time I'll just pick them up and take them outside because my my compassion toward even the smallest creature has changed.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I do that too. I pick them up and throw them outside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I spend time teaching my girls that because they want to, squash the bugs. And why are you taking that outside?
Uh,
And it always ends up being, some really good conversations with
I
them.
bet. I bet. How old are your girls?
I have two girls. They are 15 and 11.
Oh my. Yeah, just a good age for that sort of education.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
I'm very fortunate with both of them that we're very close and we have very open conversations,
Wonderful.
especially with my oldest. There's no filter on her, and anything that she thinks and wants to talk about, it comes out, and she'll discuss anything with me. But I love that relationship with her. It's helped me grow in my relationships with other people.
Nice. Lucky you.
Really, because
Yeah.
I was a very quiet, insecure person. And my oldest daughter, her whole life has helped me open up in amazing ways because she's not that way about anything. Yeah. And so being around people like that um, really helps you grow if you open yourself up to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
So how many kids do you have?
I have two kids. My daughter is 52 or 3. My son is 48 or 9. And I have 3 grandkids, a 25-year-old and a 13-year-old and a 3-year-old. No, he's 4 now in November. So usually
Okay.
I go to California in November, but and May. I had to cancel the May flight because of the virus. And now I'm not going to be going this November either.
Yeah,
So,
this virus has shut this virus
oh,
stuff has shut a lot of things down.
yeah, yeah. It's hard, and it's hard to watch, like here in Mexico, to see people struggling. We have a lot of wonderful expats here that are helping to donate food to those that are in real need. And then, there's old people sitting on a corner selling chewing gum or uh, pumpkin seeds. It's kind of common. And I mean, I wish I were wealthy, but I have enough that I can give him a 50 peso and not take his gum. Just, and be able to talk to him a little bit and say, hey, it's a mess for everybody. And they are so appreciative. So, yeah, it's really seeing businesses close and, yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Here in Texas, it's not locked down much at all now. It was for a little while, but you can go anywhere and into any restaurant. What's it like down there,
Um,
lockdown wise?
Well, Mexico overall has been a bit like the US. We have a similar kind of president here. Not as dangerous, but our mayor here in this town, he was on it immediately. And he closed the schools, he closed the churches, and this is like a super Catholic country. He closed the churches, he closed the restaurants, he made everybody wear masks and social distance. And once they started opening up, they have, I don't know if it does any good or not, but they have a little thing of disinfectant that people have to step into, and then they get temperature taken, and you have to write your name and phone number down for contact tracing if needed, and then gel in every establishment. And the restaurants have to be social distance. The tables, they have fewer tables. And although our numbers, we've been really good, like holding steady until the last couple of weeks. And that's, everything's opened up again. Not like it was, but more than it should be. And our numbers have skyrocketed. So
Hmm.
I think they're probably going to go back to shutting some stuff down. We'll see. Once they started letting the tourists in, we knew maybe we were going to be in trouble, and I think that's the case. And allowing weddings. Weddings are, I think, generally super spreaders because people, there's a lot of people, they know each other, they get drunk and dance and hug, and it's just not a good thing. So, and this is like a major wedding venue. People come from all over the world to have weddings here.
Yeah, I noticed that looking that up online, that seemed to be one of the things mentioned because it was such a beautiful place. Then people love to go there to get married because the photography opportunities there are pretty spectacular.
They are spectacular. And also part of weddings is what they call mojigangas. And those are like probably 10-foot tall. They look like puppets, but it's like they have this big head they make, and then someone is holding it on their shoulders. And then there's a long dress that goes below, so you can't see anything but the shoes. And they have the heads made to look like the bride and groom. And then they have the donkey where I've heard that they don't allow it anymore, but the donkey always would have little tiny container, little drinking things. They're like a little cup with a handle for tequila that you could drink along the way. And every wedding has a little desfile, what's the word in English? A parade that goes through town with the mojigangas and a band, a mariachi band, and the donkey. So that's part of what a wedding is about here. And people just kind of like, my daughter almost got married here because of that. That's part of what makes it so popular. And the venues, there's so many beautiful venues here, including the big church, which you probably saw. You can't watch a video about San Miguel without the parroquia. It's stunning, just stunning.
Yeah, I worked in architecture for a little while in my career, and so it made me more interested in looking at things like that. Like, ooh, look at that. That is a neat building.
Yeah, and the architecture here, I mean, the houses are all connected to each other. So along the street, it's pretty much flat. And then there's doors, and there are certain colors. They're allowed 5 colors in Centro, where I live. And all the roofs are flat. And so there's a lot of terrace life here. I mean, I have a wonderful terrace that, I love spending time on. And we're not allowed to have drones because so much of life is on the terraces. So it's a very unusual architecture. And when people are visiting, I tell them, if you're walking along and you see a door open, be sure and look, because a lot of times it's like, oh my God, what it opens up to. It's just so creative. You, as anybody interested in architecture, would love it here. It's just fascinating, truly.
And some of that goes back several hundred years, I think to the 1600s, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. There's a long, long history here. And I think my house, I think it's 100 years old. My builders, when I did some remodeling, they said, I think this has been like a 100-year-old house. So.
Now, is the weather there fairly cool for Mexico? Are you at a good elevation?
We're in the high desert. Um, San Miguel is called the heart of Mexico because it's pretty much in the center. We're about three hours, I think, driving. I've never driven it, but I think it's 3 hours to Mexico City, which a lot of people know. No beach. People think of beaches when they think of Mexico, but we're high desert, and during the summer it gets very hot. We have a rainy season that lasts 2 or 3 months. Then no more rain for the rest of the year. And then right now it's getting cold. We'll have about 3 months of cold. And the houses here, they're freezing. They're freezing because everything is solid stone and tile floors. If I were building a house here, which I looked at one for my daughter, she and her husband want to buy one. They had radiant heating throughout the house. I would die for that. I put it in my bathroom when I remodeled. It's like heaven to go in there. I probably ought to make a sort of a bed in the bathtub so I can hang out in there. But I spend a lot of time warming up in the afternoon with my electric blanket. It's just part of living here. So.
I bet the food is good. Since the restaurants are somewhat open, is that something that
Yeah,
you?
San Miguel is foodie heaven. We have amazing chefs here. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's a lot of tourists that visit. Right now, it's mostly Mexicans because people from around the world aren't wanting to come here or can't travel, aren't allowed. But when we have all our tourists coming from around the world, and we have amazing chefs with beautiful restaurants. San Miguel has been voted on Condé Nast 2 or 3 times as the world's best city. And part of it is the restaurants, the history, the restaurants, and then the culture. They celebrate everything all the time. It's amazing. The parades going on all the time. This is before the virus. They have a huge Day of the Dead celebrations and altars all around the city. This year was, they even locked up the cemeteries this year. So the families that wanted to go if you've ever seen that animated movie.
Yes, the Pixar movie.
That's
Yes.
what it's about. And people go to the cemeteries, and they bring the food, and if it's for a child, the toys and all the things that person really loved in their life. They bring that. They bring food, they eat, they drink, they celebrate all around the grave. And this year, those that wanted to go to the graves went a few days ahead of time, because the day of, they locked all the cemeteries. So
Wow.
I don't know if it helps. They just don't want to spread the virus. So,
Yeah.
But it's just a very rich culture, and the things that they celebrate all the time. A lot of it religious, not always religious. And the fireworks, they do fireworks all the time, and they're all set off at the churches. For Independence Day, which is huge here, it's kind of a week. I was up on my terrace watching the fireworks, and all around me, 5 different churches, including the big church. Big church always does the huge fireworks, but around me there were 4 or 5 other churches putting on fireworks at the same time. It's just, they're a celebratory people. They're wonderful people. So
I think the churches here need to start adopting that. That would be fantastic.
yeah, I mean, the parochia, they do fireworks, I mean, all the time. It's amazing for pretty much everything. And then a lot of people set off their own personal, I forget what it's called in Spanish now, but it's just I don't know what it looks like. I've never seen it, but a little tiny light, but it's a huge noise. And like they do it for pretty much anything. I got a new car. My wife's pregnant. I got a divorce. Just all kinds of whatever they celebrate. So it's pretty cool. It's just a wonderful culture, wonderful people. They've had a bad rap, because of the narcotics thing. But, if you stay away from the known dangerous parts of Mexico, it's, as long as you're not stupid, it's safe.
So it seems to me that you probably have a lot of personal interaction with people before all the COVID stuff anyway, a lot just being out in the town because there's just always stuff going on.
Yeah. And it's, the Mexicans are so friendly. It's easy to get to know them. I live in front of a little plaza that has a fountain and got a little garden and benches. And then there's 6, on each side, there's 3, what they call puestos. They're little food stands. There's an ice cream one and morning food. And then over here is afternoon food and evening food. And I've gotten to know them all. And we talk. And then I have Mexican friends, which for me is pretty much the richest part of my life, that I speak Spanish well enough that I can socialize with Mexicans and just find them to be, I don't know, they just are so real, just very real. And I feel very blessed that I have been able to get to know and that they want me to come and hang out with them. So, and frequently I'm the only non-Mexican in the group. And so, I stumble along with my Spanish, and if they're speaking to me directly, I understand. If they're talking to each other in a group, I have no idea what they're saying generally. But I have a friend, he was kind of the first Mexican friend I had, but he speaks English. And so he'll translate, in the group, or if I'm stumbling on something, or he'll correct me, which is wonderful. So it's just a very rich part of my life. And I feel bad for the Mexican or the Americans who don't speak Spanish or don't want to. A lot of them have lived here for years and don't speak Spanish. There's enough English here that they can kind of get by, but they're missing out on a very rich part of life here in Mexico.
Oh yeah. If I lived there, I would absolutely have to learn the local language.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the primary reasons that made me move. I had kind of messed around taking Spanish once in a while, and I always known that the only way I'm going to learn it is if I move to a Spanish-speaking country. So I signed up for Spanish school immediately, and have been going to that for 4.5 years. I went every day for probably 3.5 years, and then now I'm with a different teacher, same school, and twice a week. So, and we're doing Zoom, so we never did stop the Spanish lessons. So,
no, that's good. I know living here, talking about being friendly and having relationships. Where I live right now, I moved here a year ago. I had to really work to meet most of my neighbors around me.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them very closed, staying inside. And so I had to kind of do something to draw them out a little bit, and or go sit outside next to the dumpster in my chair and wait for people to walk up.
Yeah,
And
that's typical US.
it is here anyway. And I like that kind of lifestyle where I know all my neighbors, wave to them, say hi, know them by name. I've got a little note in my phone that I wrote all their names down the moment I met them.
Yeah,
They'd walk away and I'd write it down. So I've got this list here. So I'm not going to forget next time I see them. Hey, call them by
right.
name.
Yeah, and that's huge, using someone's name. Huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things in Santa Barbara. It's very difficult to meet your neighbors. And even just taking a walk downtown, there's nobody walking around. Everyone's in their cars. The only part of Santa Barbara that has people walking around is downtown, where and most of them are tourists. Whereas here, so many people don't have cars. And so, I mean, all the streets are crowded, and at least in Central where I live. They're coming and going from work or whatever. The buses, very active, a lot of people to use the bus. So I liken it to living in a beehive. Most of my expat friends live in more the outskirts where it's quieter. I'm in the middle of it. I love it. I can't imagine living in the outskirts. I want to be right in the middle of it and interacting with the Mexicans as much as I can. And I get to know the names, like restaurants I go to all the time. I write down the names of the waiters, and there's one in particular I go to at least once a week. We all hug each other. And we know each other's names, and it's just so nice. My friend and I go once a week, and we call it our cheers. So yeah, it's a beautiful culture, beautiful people, and they've gotten a bad rap.
Yeah. Because all you see on television regarding Mexico is news or shows, movies on drug trafficking.
Right, I know. Well, and a lot of times, most of the Mexicans that people see are the laborers, and they're generally not that well educated. They haven't had that many years of school, and they stick to themselves.